I'm Jess Dakotas.
And I'm Nick Koziel. Welcome to That Sounds Terrifying, the podcast where we share terrifying stories, we share listener experiences, and we visit virtually some of the most haunted places in the United States and the world. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new year. We're in 2025 and we're still a podcast. I think that that's sort of amazing in itself. But we're going to kick off the year with some great stories. I'm Nick Koziel, and joining with me, of course, is Jess. Say hi, Jess.
Oh, hi, Jess. See what I did there? Because you did that to me last week.
Yeah. So we're bringing stuff back from last year already. We're already doing things from previous years. But yeah, we have some great stories for you. We're going to share, of course, some of our wonderful banter. Thank you for a wonderful year of the show and podcasting and support.
Yeah,
We're super thankful for all of you. But I guess we could
very.
kind of jump into some stories. You have some stories and I have some stories. What do you got,
Oh, so
Jess?
I just want to talk about what happened yesterday when I was talking to my kid. So, um, I was at because because we're recording in 2024 for 2025. So,
Yeah.
yesterday was my son's holiday party at school. So I volunteered, which like I never have time to do that stuff. So I was like, I finally had like a Thursday for an hour and I was like, I can do it, you know? So I went there and I met like all the kids and all of his classmates that he talks about, and they were all so sweet, like so sweet. Um, and one of the little girls I was talking to said, "Oh, my mom was in the hospital last year." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, honey." Like, I said, I hope she's feeling better now." She's like, she is." I was like, "Oh, great." So I got home and I started talking to my kid about when he got home about empathy. And because I had mentioned that this little girl had said something, and I said, um, I guess I was just trying to get to like how if somebody were to say something like that, how do you react? Because he's
Right.
6. So like
Yeah.
this is where we're starting to learn about empathy and sympathy and how to when it's good to say something and when it's best to say nothing at all, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He's young, but like
Hmm.
I like to start my kids young on this stuff. And he's very,
Educational moments.
yeah, he's very empathetic, and he's intuitive. Um, and somehow we got on the topic of um energy and chakras and because well, I got him an advent calendar, one with chocolate, but I got him another one with crystals in it. He
Mhm.
really likes geodes, so this is more like a scientific thing for him. But he knows that mommy has crystals too. So we were talking about like which ones connect with each chakra. Um, I guess if I don't have a particular religion per se, but like, this is me passing on my spirituality to my child.
Mhm.
And it's important to me. So I was just connecting like these are the crystals that help with this. This is, and this is the energy and things like that. And we were talking about your third eye. And I said, he said, this helps you see the future. And I was like, well, and I was like, sometimes it can. Yeah. Sometimes your third eye can help you see the future. And he was like, I've seen the future before. And I was like, oh, cool. You'll tell me about that sometime. Um, but then we were talking about how sometimes mommy can, speak to people who have passed.
Mhm.
And he was like, is that your third eye? And I said, yeah, it is. Um, and and he said, I saw a ghost of like a he didn't know how to say like a couple months ago, but he
Mhm.
was like, I saw a ghost, like basically he was telling me recently. And I was
Mhm.
like, you did? And he was like, yeah, in the middle of the night. Um, I was laying in my sleeping bag because he falls asleep in his bed. His big, huge queen bed in his room that's like safe
Hmm.
and comfy. And he always ends up on the floor in our room. Um in his sleeping bag, just so people don't think I just give my kid a sleeping bag on the floor.
That's all he gets.
Yeah. No, the kid lives cush, all right? Like he's got a cushy life. But he ends up in a sleeping bag on the floor.
Later, we'll get him a mat to sit
Yeah,
underneath it.
yeah, yeah.
He might graduate up to a cot, but he needs to, really step it up in the house chores area.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And so um I was asking him, I said, "Well, did you see it in your room? Did you see it in mommy's room?" He said, "I saw it in mommy's room. I saw it in your room." And I was like, "Okay, well, what was it?" And he said that he saw a man who was standing to the right of my doorway. So he wasn't in the doorway, he was to the right of it. And at first I was like, well, there's a big tall lamp right there, but it's skinny.
Hmm.
And I was like, was it the lamp? And he said, no, he waved at me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's and he said, so I waved back at him. And I was like, okay, so we have a waving ghost in our bedroom.
Yeah.
Um, And he said that I said, well, what did he look like? I said, did he look happy? Did he look sad? Did he look mad? What did he look like? He said, well, at first I just thought it was daddy. And then I realized he was kind of glowing blue. And I was like, okay. And he said, but not like glowing, but like he was like lit up. Like I could see him.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, because I've seen that little boy that I've talked about, like,
Yeah.
and he was like glowing gray and
Hmm.
white, like a weird black and white type style. But like
Sure.
he wasn't glowing. He just was, I don't know how to describe it. And Carson didn't know how to describe it. But he
Hmm.
said, but he was blue and lit up and I could see him.
Hmm.
And it was dark in our room. It's very dark in our room.
Right.
And I was like, no way.
Well, and knowing what the nature of that ghost was for you, now, what are your feelings on that?
Um, so I wanted my first reaction was I want to make sure that it was something friendly, right?
Sure.
Um, he wasn't able to tell me the countenance on the ghost, which made me a little nervous, right? On the spirit. I don't know if it's a
Hmm.
ghost. It's probably a spirit.
Yeah.
Which for listeners who don't know the difference, like a ghost is someone who is stuck here, like they didn't go to the light. A spirit is someone who went to the light but can come back, sort of thing, or it's an entity of some sort. It can be an angel,
Hmm.
it could be something negative, whatever it is.
Right.
Um, I would like to think that if it was negative, I'd be able to feel it and get it out,
Sure.
like I have in the past, but like I didn't feel anything. I was sleeping.
Right.
Carson said he just didn't remember the face it had, but he made it seem like it wasn't mad or sad or anything. It just waved at him. So I
Hmm.
assume it was just like watching over the room.
Sure.
Um, and then he said once he realized it wasn't his dad, he did get scared and put the covers over his head.
Hmm.
So we talked about that too, because it's normal to be scared when you see something that's not supposed to be
Yeah.
there, you know. Um, and then we talked about empowerment and things and how you can like, make things go away. And he said once I pulled the covers back down, it was gone.
Right.
But okay. Um, but um he was talking about it and he said that like while we were talking about it our
Hmm.
Christmas tree turned on because it was just like it was supposed to turn on. It's on a timer.
Yeah.
But he jumped.
Yeah, that little
No.
click. I know what you're talking
Yeah, he
about.
jumped and I was like, "Oh, honey." So I can tell he really was like scared talking about it, thinking about it. So it was real. It wasn't something that he was just making up. And he's not the kid to make things up at all. He's not a little liar. He can't lie. My daughter, on the other hand, she came out lying. But and then she'll go, haha, when she gets caught, she's like, haha, just kidding. I was just kidding.
Yeah,
I was just kidding.
yeah,
I was like, you already ate a chocolate snowman. And she was like, oh yeah, I was just kidding. Like telling me she hadn't eaten one.
yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, so that was what happened yesterday. Like literally yesterday, he was like, yeah, I saw a ghost. I'm like, what?
It's kind of like how you came into the table and told there's so many little mirror things here. How you told our table that time, yeah, I talk to dead people, so deal with it. Just like out of nowhere. Um, but so again, like one of the things that immediately came to my mind is it's sort of like, well, also it's sort of like confirmation for you, right? Because I don't think you're going around talking to your son about the little boy that you saw, and so
No, I've never told him that
for him to
story.
say and he says it's a man, but it could have been a boy, but a boy. How young was the boy for you?
That
Right.
was a young boy, maybe 7 or 8.
So how old is your son again? If you
He's
remind me?
6.
6. Okay, so maybe not. So I just remember when I was a kid and I was really little, I have distinct memories of my mom used to teach CCD classes, religion classes at home. And I remember playing with the kids outside afterwards. And my memory of those kids was these are like high school aged kids.
Mhm.
They were in third grade or second grade. So like, but to me, they were like adult, right? Because they're
Mhm.
much older kids, right?
Right.
So, but anyways, I guess that it like you seeing that a similar thing and a similar glow and not being able to describe it, and the same thing with him is just to me, it's like, oh wow, that's kind of more, affirming, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so the question I have is like, so I know it's hard to describe the glow, but is it like aura based? Have you been able to ever seen like auras?
I've never seen auras. That's just
Yeah,
not something I've
did you
ever
do?
seen. Like, like when you're staring at someone for a long time, you can kind of see like an outline of them. Like, I guess
Yeah,
that's the closest I've ever been, but I always just figure that's like your eyes. Like,
sure.
like that's just like a biological, like your eyes are just seeing like the outline of somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe it is Nora, and I just don't know, or I'm too daft to pick up on it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um,
No, I was
the
just wondering.
the glow is their face is all it's lit up, but not glowing. It's not emanating light around them. Their face is just lit up, kind of like the spotlight on my face sort of
Yeah.
thing, but not as bright. It wasn't bright. It was just like I'm in the dark and I can see a full face and
Yeah.
body. And it's the weirdest thing. They have their own light like
Hmm.
in them that's like emanating. And that's the only way I can describe it. But
Sure.
yeah, I think even like when I told the story, like I even said like he was glowing but not glowing. Like I don't know how to describe
Yeah.
how maybe I did a better job of describing it there. But yeah, but Carson said the same thing. He was like, it was blue. He was glowing blue, but he wasn't glowing. And he was very matter of fact about it. And I just was like, I said,
Mhm.
have you ever seen anything else again? He said, no. I said, like, why aren't you scared of mommy and daddy's room then? Because
Yeah.
don't you want to stay in your nice, cozy room and not wake me up at 3 a.m. every night?
Yeah.
You know, uh, maybe
That's
the
funny.
spirit was trying to do me a favor and it didn't work. Yeah.
Waving at you. Just go
Yeah.
back to your room, kid.
Go. Yeah.
It's my time to stand by mommy's bed.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh, that's so scary.
Well, I mean, that's the terrifying part, I guess, for like, most people. There's a man standing at the edge of your bed staring at you while you sleep, but you're like, oh, my son has saw him and.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, if it's a
Yeah.
spirit, like
Yeah.
I feel like spirits visit us or watch over us
Yeah.
um as we sleep, as we dream. Maybe they're there to give a dream with information. Maybe they're downloading something. Like I don't know. I don't know. But
Sure.
when
Yeah.
you're at rest and when you're in your subconscious, there's theories that it's just easier to get through to you, right?
Yeah.
Like my dream of Eileen, she was able to get to me there, right? Instead of like
Mhm.
in my busy work day where I'm always busy and I'm always going and you know, um I do love the theory though, just this is gonna sidetrack for a second, then we'll come back.
Sure.
But I do love the theory that, because everybody's like, well, why do people only see ghosts at nights? Because you're sleeping and you're dreaming and it's not real and it's just your brain playing tricks on you. And I'm like, yeah, that could totally be. Absolutely. I'm sure that happens. Um, but how would you know if you saw a ghost in the mall if like there's people everywhere?
Right.
Right? Like if ghosts just look like us, like I don't necessarily think that ghosts are see-through. Like they look like full body apparitions, like,
Right.
I don't know, but um maybe I'm wrong. But how would you know if you're in a busy place that there's not a ghost walking by? And you would have no idea because there's tons of people around, right?
Right.
Like if I were a ghost, I would walk around in public all the time. What are they gonna do? Nobody's gonna know. But I
I'm
mean,
just
the theory is like, how do you know you haven't seen a ghost during the day?
right. Well, and then the other part of it is, yeah, yeah, you might be sleeping, but also like you tend in the evening hours, like, at home and stuff to be more open, right?
Mhm.
So like there isn't as much going on around you in your environment. So
Right,
your like instincts and your perceptions are now at a higher level, right? So you're able to perceive maybe things that are happening too. Or just like you said, you could be seeing things and just not knowing that they're things, right?
right,
And ignoring them. We've talked a couple times on this podcast about like going around, you know, and doing your daily lives and whatever, and there's like so much coming at you that you all of a sudden will notice something you've never noticed before,
right,
right? So,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
it's
mean, I've
interesting.
had stuff happen to me during the day too. Like, like I've said, at showings and stuff, I've had things happen. That's in the middle of the day, but so I know I'm wide awake and I have other people that
Right,
are wide awake with me.
right. So
Um,
one other thing this kind of reminds me of, is like when I was little, and I've shared on this show before that, I lost my grandmother at a very early age. It was a very hard moment in my life. And this sort of just jogged my memory. I've never seen anything, but I've always been able to sort of feel or perceive things, right? And I don't know how true this is or what, but there was this little painting that my father had when he was a boy, and he put it in my room. And I think it was right around the time that I was struggling for a very, very long time to get to sleep because I was so upset about my grandmother not being around. And it's this painting about yay big, so about 5 inches for those that can't see, square, of an guardian angel guiding, I think it's a little boy across a bridge, right?
mm,
And one of the bridge steps are like missing. It's funny, like I look at this thing all the time, but now I can't remember it. So anyways, he gave it to me recently because I mentioned that I'm like I always wanted to have that back at one point. But
mhm,
when I was little, I always felt like after that moment that my grandmother was my guardian angel and she was watching over me and guiding me, and I felt a little more comfortable. So whatever, like if he did to give that to me to comfort me and comfort me,
mhm.
but it was kind of like that helped me to feel like something was watching over me. So I kind of get what you're saying, like it because of the intent of what you've seen, like you're not that nervous about it. But I just, again, circling back, I think that it's really cool that there's some sort of, confirmation that something's going on in your room. Really cool, but some people might find that terrifying. This confirmation something's going on in my room. So, but I think you said you had a sort of a related story that you found online that you wanted to share to this, right?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that one right now?
Yeah, we could
At
go
this
into
very
that.
moment?
It's this exact at this from this moment.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree though, Nick. Like I think that it does help to think that our loved ones are still near and they are protecting us in some way. And I think that to a degree that's true. Um, I don't I don't know. Like I feel like if you can feel your loved one or when you think of your loved one, like they come near, they know that you're thinking of them because our thoughts are energy and they are energy
Hmm.
and we are energy and you know,
Yeah.
so absolutely. Okay. It's called A Story About Me and a Paranormal Activity as a Kid. When I was younger, I was told I attract paranormal activities or something like that, and a story my mom told me that confused me was when I was around 4 years old, I was in the living room when my mom came in and saw her child crying, pointing to the window. Of course, she checked on, and there was nothing. And when she asked what was wrong, I guess I stated, Mama, I saw a man in the window. And I stated he was pale and tall and pointy. Like any other mother, not in some horror movie, she took me and ran outside and drove away. I don't know if I would go outside if somebody said there was a man in the window. I would be like, I'm calling 911. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'd also check the cameras now because nowadays we have those.
Yeah.
Um, I have no memories of that, but I do have one memory of my late Grammy's house. I was around 6 and I was playing with this girl in my Grammy's room. And of course, my Grammy was confused, so she called me to come in the living room and asked, What are you doing in there? I stated, I'm playing with this girl who was wearing something Aunt Sue was wearing. My Grammy's sister, who was over at her house, my aunt told me to tell the girl to go to her grandma, and I told the girl who said her grandma is dead. So my aunt then said to tell her to go to heaven with her grandma. So I told the girl that, and she started walking up a cloud of stairs to a bright light. I don't remember anyone who looked like that girl in real life close to me or remember seeing her face, so I'm not sure if that was a dream or not. Another story about my mom's sister, I'll call her Aunt N. And when Aunt N was 4, she was in a corner looking at a wall, rocking back and forth, mumbling in Portuguese. None of my family on my mom's side knows Portuguese. Nobody speaks Portuguese at all. And when they turned her around to see what was going on, Aunt N was sleeping.
Jeez. How would you know what Portuguese is?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I'm like, how do you know Portuguese if
No one in my family speaks Portuguese.
But I mean, like, how would you
I
know it's
mean,
Portuguese and not Spanish? I don't know.
I don't know. Like that, I mean, I guess we make assumptions. It was clearly Portuguese. Or maybe the ghost said, I am speaking Portuguese now. And then
Yeah,
spoke, I don't know.
yeah, Portuguesa. Yeah, I don't know. Um, but I thought that was kind of funny because it was just like another little kid that
Yeah.
saw
Saw
stuff.
something. Well, and
Yeah,
it's funny because like I thought there was gonna be more. So like there's this like weird, uncomfortable silence and I'm waiting. I'm like, oh, there's more. And then I'm
yeah.
like, no, there isn't. Okay, we spoke Portuguese. I have to make fun of that. All
She was
right.
sleeping, so
She's
she must have
sleeping.
been like remembering a past life. I don't really know.
Yeah, that's interesting though. And yeah. I
Oh,
really I'm really concentrating on the Portuguese part. Sorry, listeners. You
I
know.
mean, I was also thinking the same thing as I was reading it. I was like, oh, how would you know him? If it's
Yeah.
not Spanish or Italian or I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, I
Italian would be.
also go to what's the name of that Tron Travolta Phenomenon.
Mm.
Do you ever see that movie?
Oh, forever ago. I don't remember it.
Okay, so there's, the premises of like something happens to him, an event happens to him, and this average guy becomes extremely smart,
Hmm.
and is able to do things even like kind of with his mind.
Hmm.
And his best friend is in love with this woman, uh, but like, and she's Portuguese, and he teaches him how to speak to her in Portuguese, but like gives him like these things that he's saying like how to I don't know I think it was like how to ask her to help him with shopping or something, but he's actually saying how beautiful she is because he doesn't understand Portuguese. But so
Mm.
anyways, yeah, I'm really hanging up on the Portuguese part. But the point of that whole statement is like that could happen to me. I wouldn't know that I was speaking Portuguese, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But oh, cool. Well, cool story. And thanks for sharing your personal experience too.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Crazy.
the one that I brought along, actually is sort of it parallels this, which is kind of neat, in a way. And it parallels interesting sleeping arrangements too.
Cool.
So let me just cue this up and we will get going. But this story is, I got this from the internet by a user called Sweetly Sour Roses. So, and it's from 2018.
Mm.
Um, I've always been spiritually active ever since I was a little girl, to be honest. I assure you that it wasn't by choice. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I've attracted all sorts of spirits. The main ones seem to want to get closer to me have been evil. As you can already assume, they aren't the nicest of things, these demons that visit me. The house this happened in was near Daytona, and I still live there to this day. While I'm not sure who will believe me, I'm hoping someone can give me a clue to what's going on and what could have possibly happened. When we first moved here, to say the least, I got a little bit of an odd feeling from the place. And I was right because I would have plenty of odd experiences here. However, this one takes the cake. As you know, I've already, of course, we know because she said this. I've always been spiritually active. The same ghosts come to me and seek me because I have empathic abilities. So easily pick up on good or bad feelings. In my room, my bed is against the wall, but straight across from the end of a bed is the wall, and there's two doors separated by a computer desk. One of these doors leads me out of the room, while the other leads to my closet. I don't have curtains in my room. I have two tall windows on the wall that is the top of my bed, and I suffer horrible migraines that you literally make me want to just die. And it makes me feel like I've been hit by a bus full of elephants and hippos. My closet is a small walk-in closet, but it's big enough for me to lay down. I've made a bed in there and everything for me, so when this happens and I start to have a migraine, I can go to a place to sleep in complete silence and darkness. But I've also noticed that I started to feel uneasy in there every time I went in my closet. And so it wasn't the smartest idea I've ever had to enclose myself in there, but I would always try to find ways to brush those feelings off and say that it's my mind playing tricks on me. I would constantly watch scary things before I'd go in, which also helped me to create a new few jump situations. But it always got worse when I was laying in the closet. With or without a migraine, I would feel sick. I would get so sick that I almost felt like I was going to throw up. And I'd only start to feel better once I was out of the room. I was assuming that maybe this one situation I was catching a virus, but I still would just sleep in the closet. It had happened that this event occurred and I just realized how stupid I was. So I was asleep with the help of a little bit of migraine medication, and I wasn't sure what happened, but when I woke up, I was on my stomach with my face in the pillow. I do move in my sleep, but I've never woken up with my face in the pillow instead of my arms. I'm a relatively big person, so I often use my arms or my chest as a pillow depending on where I am. I suddenly heard childlike laughter. I began to panic. I could easily move my body, but I couldn't move my head. It felt like someone was pushing my head into the pillow, and I was beginning to suffocate. The harder I tried to move, the harder it pushed. I could tell from the shape and the size of the hand it was similar to that of a child, but much stronger. I put the last of my energy into one final push, and I was freed. And I ran out of the closet and into the living room, panting. I stayed there for the remainder of the day, and my family was very confused. They would never believe me if I told them the story, so I wasn't going to even try. It seemed like this would be the ending of my experience with the thing, but I could just feel it standing there watching over me. Focusing in, I got a picture of what it looked like in my head. It was a little girl with an unnaturally big smile and large black eyes. She had peach skin and dishwater blonde hair that looked like it needed a good wash, no shoes, and a little white dress that was covered with dirt and grime. She's still in my closet, and sometimes I can still hear her laughing and beckoning me to come to sleep in the closet again. She keeps saying she won't hurt me. I know that's a lie.
First of all, that's creepy. But
Right.
but second, like there must be something in that closet that has an attachment. If that's actually happening, like
Right.
there's an attachment in that closet to something. Like look for anything like old or used to belong to great Aunt Nancy or
Yeah.
whatever it is and get it out of your house or bless
Sure.
it or whatever. But I don't understand, like, why would you they were like, I feel sick all the time, so I'm gonna keep coming into the closet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple confusing things about that story and like I feel like well there's one or two things that I'm kind of feeling like with the closet. So maybe the closet itself is sort of that gateway and that portal. And like if you cleanse a house and they have like an opening like that, like
Mhm.
sometimes you just can't fully get rid of it and it just remains sort of open and that's where it goes, right?
You
Like
gotta close it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
but like I guess that didn't happen. So cleansing a house doesn't always like from what I understand, the layman's understanding of cleansing is it doesn't always close things like that. Like
Y-
sometimes you need assistance with that, right?
Yeah, you'll need assistance if you don't know how to close it. I mean, this person is ripe for that stuff because here's
Right.
from where I stand.
Sure.
They watch scary movies and horror films and things like that. They said that they watch scary movies. That just like feeds that stuff. Um, not just your imagination, but like when you open yourself to those things, like negative things like that, that can
Yeah.
like, be bring in more negative because it's like, ooh, you know,
Hmm.
it's that whole like if you stare into the abyss, the abyss starts to look back.
Right.
But the other thing is that they are isolated. They said that nobody in their family would believe them
Right.
if they told them. Um, that's another way that negative entities will try to enter and overpower people is like if they're isolated, or they will eventually isolate them completely. Um, so
Yeah.
that's like two strikes right there. They also
Right.
suffer from migraines, which makes them vulnerable.
Hmm.
Um, and when you're like at your lowest and you're in so much pain and you're tired and you're,
Yeah.
exhausted, that's another way that negative entities can enter in and start their shit. Um, so it's all about taking your power away,
Yeah.
and taking what you feel, your dominion is,
Right.
like it's in your own home. It's disempowering. It's when you're at the most vulnerable and you're sick and not feeling well, all these things. So like I believe that like even if this story isn't true, this happens to people. It
Yeah.
really does. Um so yeah, I totally get it. I hope that they find whatever it is, if it's a portal, if it's something in the closet. If they're
Yeah.
bound there, then like yeah, there could be something in there.
Yeah. And so you kind of cover the other part of it. The other thing that I was thinking was that they're susceptible to it. And so maybe they're, already kind of so open to it that they can't quite get rid of it because they're not ready to, or they're, what's it like a succubus kind of behavior where they're kind of drawn into it and they
Mhm.
can't quite get out of it. So, and like I suffered from migraines, especially when I was younger, like in
Mhm.
my teens,
Mhm.
and they're debilitating as all
Oh
heck.
yeah, I have them. I had one the other day. It was horrible.
Right. And going back into our conversation earlier in the podcast where we were saying like when you put yourself into like, and that's what I want to do. I want a dark room, empty,
Hmm.
void of sound. So you
Hmm.
put that into that, all of a sudden your other things are heightened. And if you're open and you're vulnerable, like you were saying, and you're able to, hear, see, experience spirits, it's like the perfect storm for
It
you to
really is.
like be, taken over or, manipulated and things like that. And this person seems to be a little bit of a glutton for punishment too, because they also are like, I'm gonna watch the scariest movie and then I'm gonna lock myself in my closet where no
Dark
one
closet.
knows where
Yeah,
I
where
am.
I feel
And
sick.
I'm gonna take medication too while I'm in there and not tell any of my family I'm having this experience.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah, yeah.
well, and not to make light of like her situation because like
No.
that's sad and everything, but it's just kind of like also make some choices that might, find an advocate, find someone, reach out to our podcasts and share your story because there might be someone that we can connect you with or you can find that believes
Right.
you and can gives you tactics of people to reach out to and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, but
I agree. If somebody listening to this is ever feeling like they are isolated or alone and they're experiencing paranormal stuff and they're scared, um, definitely reach out to someone. And on top of that, like not everything is paranormal.
yeah,
Some things really are in your brain and your chemistry is off, and you need to be evaluated to
right,
know the difference between is this my brain or is this something that's like outside of me and it really is like a supernatural, paranormal,
right,
whatever type of thing that I'm experiencing.
yeah,
Um, because it's not always a spirit. It's sometimes just our brains and our chemistry, and it's very important to make sure that it's that if it's something serious like that, like and it's debilitating,
Yeah.
that you do get checked out and know for a fact. And nobody's going to think you're a quack. If you go to a medical professional, nobody's going to be like, "Oh, you're a psycho." Like
Yeah.
they're going to they're going to evaluate you the way that they evaluate everybody else that comes to them with the similar stories to see what's going on.
Right.
And I do want to put that out there. Always seek medical attention because it does, it is important. Um,
Yeah.
but if it's
And,
none of those things and you get a clean bill of health and like you're being attacked, the other thing I just want to reiterate is that like negative entities, negative things like that, and I'm not an expert in this, but I've been around. Um, they will try to take your power away. They will make you feel disempowered.
mhm.
And what I know myself and what I teach my kids, especially what I was telling Carson yesterday was, and I've told him in the past, is that we have domain here, we have dominion. If you believe in God or higher power or whatever it is, whatever it is that you believe in that's connected to love and light and things like that, you call on them, you gather that strength, and you tell that negative thing to get out.
Yep.
Um, and I know that they said they saged and things like that, and that's a wonderful thing, and that's an empowering thing.
Hmm.
But just keep doing it because it
Hmm.
it really does make a difference. And when you tell something, you have no power over me, I have the power here. It really does. It disempowers that
Sure.
negative thing, um, which
And
is important.
yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, we've had a series of guests on our show, like Chesapeake Paranormal and Monroe County Paranormal Investigators. All these groups, like you could reach out to them, even if they're
Mhm.
not in your area, and they probably can connect you to other groups they've been connected with, or just do a little bit of research. If you do think it's paranormal, you're worried it's paranormal,
Mhm.
these are groups that can come in and help you. And a lot of times, they've shared that it's not paranormal. Your room or your closet could be over this huge junction box that is like
High EMF.
messing with you. Right,
Yeah.
messing with your brain, essentially
Yeah.
giving you migraines, because that is also there's some research around that
Totally.
migraines could be definitely affected by that. So yeah, so get some help, and reach out to us and we'll see if we can find something too, But
Yeah.
it's good. It's very important to in this digital age for you just maybe to jump on Google and search for help in your area. But
Yeah,
I
and
agree with
just
you.
yeah, don't be isolated. If you feel isolated, like you can't talk to anyone about it. I mean, they did a good job of
Yeah.
at least they put it out there on the internet,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um but but there are definitely some experts that I would try to find to help
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a cool story, thanks, Nick. It was
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I
like
hope.
the idea of the dishwasher blonde
Yeah.
child.
Yeah. That, it was a good story, and I read it a couple times, and it kind of connected. It's just funny that it sort of connected with some of the stories that you were doing because we don't plan
Yeah.
that ahead of time.
No, we don't. It's just a
So
synchronicity.
yeah, that's just how it happens. So, but if you like this and you like our stories, definitely follow us, on the socials and TikTok and Instagram. Check out our website, thatsoundsterrifying.com, and give us a 5-star rating. We definitely want to keep on pushing that in the new year here. So, if you want to give us a late Christmas gift, that would be it. So, but I think it's about that time, Jess.
Well, yeah, I just want to add, tell your friends if you know somebody
Yeah,
that like likes paranormal stuff or like your wife or your kids or they like paranormal stuff. You know, tell them about the podcast. Because that definitely helps. The more people you tell, the more listens we get, and that's always exciting.
yeah.
And then we can keep doing this because if nobody listens, then I think we're just wasting our time.
And we don't want to waste your time, but
I'm
if you're
talking
not
to no one but Nick.
if you're not listening, we're really not wasting your time. This is becoming a little bit crazy. But
We're just
we
talking
want
into the
to
abyss.
we want to get a lot of people so we cannot waste their time.
Yeah. So I cannot waste my time and
Yes.
your time.
Yes. Oh, you can waste my time. It's great.
No, I mean, this is fun. I have
Yeah.
fun doing it and I want to keep doing it,
Yeah.
uh, for sure. Um, okay, so I guess if it's that time and it is the new year, I guess whether it is champagne or ghosts, keep your spirits up.